the bay. Ship it quick, skip the drift. On tennis profit, don't find it as great. Welcome back to another episode of Tennis Profit.
Welcome, Fonzie. What's up, man?
What's up?
Yeah,
no haircut,
jingles,
no haircut, no vibes.
We need,
no haircut, no vibes.
What?
New haircut, new vibes.
New haircut, new vibes here. Cool, man. We gotta ask the people at home what do they think
of my haircut or of the jingle?
Of the jingles, man. I mean, second time we started the show with the jingle.
Well, I don't know. Did you record it?
Yeah, I did.
Nice. Let's go.
Nice. We gotta always be recording, baby.
The guitar
ABR.
is improving.
Yeah.
But.
Well, little context here for those tuning into the show. By the way, thank you so much. Also, if you want a free clarity challenge for 5 days with Fonzie one-on-one, baby, we're back on bizres.co/monetize. We're just talking about it. We're gonna give some real feedback here as we debrief some of the stuff that we're seeing in today's content. And if you want to be part of the community, businesscreator.club. We're meeting every Thursday. That might be changing to Friday afternoons by popular request. Anyways, Fonzie, you're going to be back in Jacksonville soon. Back in Jacksonville soon. We're going to see you in the studio soon.
Maybe. I'll be back in Jacksonville. Not sure if I'll be back at the studio. Who knows?
Yeah, he's allergic. Guys, he's allergic to the studio. Anyways.
Kidding.
That we're just talking about it on the phone. I was like, dude, don't tell me more. Let's do it actually on the show. Almost like a real content update, because I had this incredible couple today that they were starting their podcast in studio, and I'm seeing a lot of trends and kind of comments on like where people kind of want to go with their content. And I've been dealing with a lot more with like long form podcast style. Fonzie has been dealing a lot more with like short form. I personally have been experimenting a lot with short form lately with the football show. So we can chat a little bit on the thoughts of, what's going on today.
All right. Where do you want to start?
Cool. I think you might have to bring your microphone a little bit closer to your face.
Oh, here?
Yeah.
Last time I felt like it was pretty high, the levels, but you can control on your end. So you let me know.
You're 100%, baby.
Cool. So where do you want to start?
Yeah, I mean, I think you were chatting a little bit with like this group that they're in the challenge, right? They're mainly focusing on short form content, but they do have.
Well, they actually went from the challenge to, getting our help.
Correct. So they're in praxis right now, and then they have it's not them creating the content themselves. They have people outside. On the field, right? Recording content, right? Multiple people.
Pretty much, yeah. So because of the nature of their business, they have the founder that is the face of the company, but they get a lot of their content from, let's say, their field experts. They have multiple people that are kind of like on different locations working with the people that they're helping. And these are people that are recording the videos, and then they send them to their editor and their video person, and then the content, goes on from there.
Yeah. So, I mean, a lot of people that can probably use today's advice is, brick and mortar businesses. Maybe I go back to like our gym days that, you had some of the staff that have been, recording on location. Situations where you don't control the creation process per se, maybe, right? So establishing those systems, I think. So what was like the number one problem that they were encountering?
I mean, I think they have a couple challenges, and, every situation is probably going to be a little bit different. Everybody might have their own different needs and whatnot. And for what I've seen, I think this process is a little bit unique in a sense, what I'm seeing. But the main thing is, right, the editor, when they get their video, there's not consistency with what she's getting, right? Like some people are sending some better footage. Some people are actually understand a little bit better of the problems that they're solving and the content that they want to share. So the videos make a little bit more sense than some of the other videos that she might be getting not in the correct format, right? So
Yeah.
there's also this kind of like lack of alignment in between the people that are recording. Maybe, and it's not criticism, but maybe some of those people, right, they're very good at what they do, helping the client, but obviously the recording side of things now is maybe like an extra task that it might be a new skill set for them. So when they think record, they might just put the phone horizontally, right, and record the footage horizontally when the orientation of the video is different. We need a vertical, for example. So simple changes like that we need to correct kind of like across the board.
Yeah.
So there's consistency on the inputs that the editor is getting, and that way we can be consistent on the output that we're getting as well, right? Because last thing we want is there's a lot of gold, there's a lot of good things that are happening in here that we can create content about, but because of it not being documented the right way, it just takes away from the final product of the thing that we can create. But if there's a way that we can align all these people into this is how you record quality footage, this is how you record the quality message, right? What to look for when we're going to record, maybe a little checklist, right? These are the type of shots that maybe we can get when this is happening. And then they send that to the editor. It's going to make first life for the editor 100 times better, but also more quality footage, more quality videos. We get to publish more as well. We increase our volume, we increase the quality of the content, and in a way that leads obviously to an increase on the audience, which is in part what we're looking for. So to go back, the solution, what we were having this conversation, what came to my mind is, well, obviously there needs to be some sort of training, right? Some sort of resource that we're able to share with these people to get them all aligned, not only on the objectives or what we're looking for, but also kind of like increase the base level of the skill set that they have in terms of, social media. There's a few that they know, you can tell they know a little bit better. Some of the content that they send, it looks better, right? It like has a good composition. It has enough white spaces for you to like put like a text overlay into it, a text hook, etc. It's like, okay, well, how do we get the others onto that level as well? So very interesting. Again, I thought it was a sort of unique thing because of the way the business works and how they need to get footage from like all the other places. I think a different solution that they could approach, but I think they're going towards the one that we were just talking about. But I just, for the sake of the exercise, another one would be that the founder leans heavily on creating more content herself, right? Like she is in the field quite a lot too. So like she could get more footage, right? Then she could be the face, she could be more recognizable. They could potentially just get an intern, somebody that goes around with them and film them, get footage, etc., or hire somebody, right, that does that for them full time, if you want to put it that way. That'll be another solution. Maybe it could be the next step after we solve the initial problem. But at the end of the day, nobody will know the message better than the founder as well, right? So I think that's a good point of leverage.
Yeah. There's so many points here. The importance of that message that the brand, can unify and put in there. And it's not just like the message, but the way that it looks, that it feels. We're working with a different company too, where, they've been out there for many, many years. They're very, very successful in the education space. And one of the things that surprised me personally has been specifically like the way that they write the statements, or even the grammar that they use. Like there's a very specific way of corrections and things that we've had to implement and internal rules for that. It's because they control so much of that. And is what made him, I guess, one of those elements that they feel like really proud of. So, what is the voice of your brand? What is the look of your brand? What is the thing? And I get that for people that might be starting today, that might be a little overwhelming. So I would encourage everybody, obviously do an audit. Like, where are you at in that publishing pyramid, right? Capacity wise, team wise, right? In this specific case with what Fonzie is sharing, they might not have a big team capturing the content, but they have employees capturing the content. So it's like, what is a layer of education that we can do? It's like, okay, here are the standards, right? Below this threshold, we cannot accept that. Above that, how can we make it better? How can we make it easier for the people? And maybe that is like, okay, is the standard recording on a phone with with this specific angle, with this like specific type of content, and it could be like very raw documenting style, but just making sure that everybody's on the same page is key, right? And those are things that as we start recording or as we start creating, we don't really think about until we're in the midst of it, maybe producing it. So those are little things that you can do. I'll tell you my personal experience, right? So we've mentioned a little bit on the football show. We've hopefully this is the third time we relaunched that thing. So on Monday, I published the new episode. This weekend, I'll probably record something else. But what I've been doing is I've been experimenting with, short form content creation. And this is my hypothesis of like, what is the type of content that I personally resonate, because like Fonzie said, like I will be the guy creating initially. That allows me for lower friction creation. And that means maybe recording from my phone or maybe recording from the camera that I carry around everywhere. And then 30 minutes to 1 minute thing that I'll say. And then I'm using a tool called Captions inside of my phone to edit it really quickly. The final product is decent, right? But at the end of the day, it's like, is the messaging, right? Like, I don't think the production has anything to do with it. I'm leaning towards what's happening today in the world of soccer. And I'll just give my specific point of view for that clip, right? But in about 15 to 20 minutes, that clip can be researched, recorded, edited, and published. And it has been interesting the last 3 days. Again, by the time of this recording, I've only done 3. The first one, after an inactive account, almost 2,000 views on multiple platforms. Like each platform has reached around that. TikTok has been the one that has been the most, but it's very interesting to see how they behave. Then the one that we posted yesterday, almost 4,000 views. I just posted one. We'll see what it does. So what's interesting to me is like, okay, is the topic that we say versus the time that we post versus maybe a little bit less edited, and all these dials that, you initially can do. And you as a business owner can test these things out. But at the same time, there's a standard of how we want those clips to look, right? That's why they're recorded with one single camera, the same camera. That's why we're using the same template on the Captions app to see what happens. And that's how you start controlling the content that goes out, and you can measure. It's like, what if we change, the type of camera that we use? What if we do it, from the phone in the car? And those are things that you can start trying out as we move forward, but just make sure that you set up that initial standard. Does that make sense? Am I rambling too much?
No, I think that makes total sense.
Yeah. I mean, it got Fonzie's approval. He did give me, he always gives me really good feedback because, he's my brother and I'm business partner, but he's like, message can be better.
I'll say this. Sometimes I hold back. I'm like, because I respect the hustle and the grind that you're putting it out there either way. And I'm like, I feel like sometimes I might be too harsh on my feedback specifically to you. So sometimes I do hold back a little bit.
Well, I'm sure. I mean, listen, like we've talked about this on the show many times, right? Like we have very different, I guess, standards, and that like this comes to that, right? Like, because I think this is a very real problem for either a lot of business owners or partners, right? That they're out there creating together, and it could be there might be a disagreement at some point of something like that. But especially when we start creating, I think there's a part of us that is one excited, but at the same time, if you are the face of that content, facing that criticism is not easy if it's the first time, right?
Yeah.
But then where's the balance? What is the priority? Is it priority to put it out there? Is it priority to put it out there consistently? Is it priority to be frequent? Is it priority to test things out? I think like that's a conversation that every single, business owner or, people publishing content has to have. And it's also important to receive feedback from people that you trust. For example, in our case, you. Can I get better? Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's important to receive feedback according to the goal, right? Because like it does nothing to you if I tell you a feedback that doesn't serve the goal that you have, right? So for example, you might send me a piece of content and in my mind, the feedback is like, well, he wants to maximize reach, get to the most amount of people. And I'm going to see it with those eyes. And then I'm going to be like, well, look, the hook is wrong, could be better. I like the content, but there's a lot of redundancy in there, whatever. But maybe in your eyes, your whole goal was just to like, I just want to be consistent and put it out, right? So the feedback with that goal, then it would be good. You posted it. Well done. Where's the next one? So like that, I do think that's important because again, feedback changes depending on the goal. So it's important to be aligned on that as well, right? Like, cool. After a month of being consistent, that goal probably will change to, well, now that I'm consistent and I know I can create this amount of content, now I want to get more views. Then the type of feedback changes, right? And I think that's important to understand. So if you're in the creation process at the moment, make sure you know exactly what is your goal. And that is where we start on this 5-day challenge that, we talked about at the very beginning. Is what is the goal, because we want to know exactly where we're going and then putting the right constraints in place to make sure we don't, go all over the place, but we actually go towards the goal that we want. And that is step number one, is just understanding that. And after that, then you can just craft all the rest, craft the strategy, the tactics, how you're going to, get your feedback, what are your indicators and all that stuff. So circling back to you and your, the football show, I think the goal right now is more of the consistency. So based on that, good job.
Thank you. I mean, there's a few things there. It's like not only consistency, but also experimenting with like a new form of creation, which, we're so familiar with the podcast, for example, that we feel so comfortable in that medium. And this is like a new way to do things, right? It's more concise. It might have an element of research on it because of the type of stuff that we're sharing there. So, different styles of creation calls for also a different skill set, right? And then you add a layer to that of like a time constraint where you're like, okay, I have these 20 minutes to do it, for example. And the commitment of the brand image, right? Like what is the look and feel that we wanted to convey? So that's all these levers that we can play with. And I think that's why, tools like live streaming could be very powerful for people starting out, because you eliminate a lot of those, those friction points down the road. Going back to your feedback, not specifically to me, but the topic of feedback. Earlier this morning, we had this incredible couple that they're starting a podcast on the medical field, and the guy is very outgoing. He loves to have conversations, and he's an expert in his field. He's just a retired physician, and they've been having these incredible conversations with people in the government, and they're trying to create a massive impact. And they come back to us like, what's that good? Like after the interview. And I'm like, well, let's define good, right? Because for them, like there was no podcast before. Now this is a podcast. Now stage one is, can we get consistent? And then they're like, well, was it a good conversation? And I'm like, well, personally, I don't know. I'm not your audience, but we have to put it out there and see what the feedback is, right? We have to send it to a few people in there and see if the message resonates with them. But I think initially when we're starting to create that way, like, was it exciting for you? Was it exciting? Was it good for you? Was it a good experience? Because if that's not met, then it's really hard to test things out down the line. But we just wanted to come in here today and share a little bit of the behind the scenes of the things that, we've been doing, and some of the stuff that we see in our challenges and our calls and the people in the studio. So a little bit of a fast one today. Fonzie, is there any updates or any last thoughts that you want to share?
Nope, not really.
Next episode in studio?
Could be.
Could be. Today, the people in the studio were like, dude, is Fonzie real? I'm like, I promise I will get him in an episode.
I'm a phantom.
The ghost Fonzie. Sweet, man. Well, thanks. I'm excited to see you. The kids are excited to see you on Sunday. Maybe we'll watch some soccer. And with that said, guys, don't forget to go beastrose.co/monetize for that 5-day challenge with Fonzie, and businesscreator.club for the community if you want to come hang out in the Q&A calls. Anyways, thanks a lot, and we'll see you in the next episode.